I'm Simon Lipson, and this is Nice One, Cyril. I'm joined, as ever, by Spurs royalty Julie Welch and the ever-cheery Kevin Acott. And this week, a special guest is Hollywood legend in his own lunchtime, Lee Brown. Now, we're going to ask big questions, like, did we shut up shop after 4 minutes against Villarreal? Or was it a case of us just lacking a bit of oomph? Then we're going to talk about Brighton. Was that a good point or too dropped? It depends whether you're a glass half full type, like none of us. We'll also discuss the Simmons effect, Vic's concrete feet, and much more. Got all kinds of stuff coming up. Julie is losing it over Thomas Frank's chewing. And I think Kev is going to talk about different types of bat-eating managers, and that's his types of manager taxonomy. Just wanted to say taxonomy. Lee is bound to have something lovey-ish to say. And of course, we'll wrap up with predictions for Doncaster and Wolves. A spoiler alert, we're going to be right one day. All right, so stick around. It's Nice One, Cyril. Nice one, Cyril. Right, so welcome to episode 6. We've got this far. We've done extremely well to get this far. Loads to talk about. I think we ought to start with Villarreal. It was a great goal, mind you, but after 4 minutes, we stopped playing any football. Lee, what the hell happened there?
I was at the game, actually, and I was lucky enough to be in the south stand at the top. So far at the top, I had snow on my head and was amongst several people who were needing gas and air. But it was an unusual match. I mean, the pre-match build-up felt quite positive to me. There was, a number of people that were really kind of up for the game, but then the stuffing was knocked out of them later on in the game when we just looked utterly disjointed. It looked to me like we had set up to defend. I'm going to throw a theory out there, actually, if I may, if this isn't too boring. But I have this theory that at the moment he's trying to put the pieces of the jigsaw in place until we get the puzzle complete. And it feels like we've been working on the defence, and then we've been working on the attack. And that game, the attack just wasn't working. I mean, when you from watching it above, it seemed to me that a lot of the time we were getting the ball, but there was no one in the box. And anytime anyone broke ahead or got away, no one was in there to receive it. And then the whole thing broke down, and we ended up going back to what we've been doing a lot recently, which is just giving the ball away. So yeah, that the goal was a worldie, wasn't it? I think Gazaniga would have been proud of that keeping. But overall, I just felt we just didn't click. Nothing was happening up front. And I think, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but the Brighton game looked like the opposite. We were really trying to push up front and put more people in the box.
Hang on one sec there, Lee. Is anyone else getting a lot of echo on Lee's sound?
No.
Just me?
No.
Why the okay. Don't worry, I'll cut all this out. Yeah, you're coming over a lot of echo. I don't know why. I can't work anything out. We'll just plow on then, if you want, because it'll still come through clean when the time comes. It's because it might not. Let's move on. Julie, Lee has kind of alluded to a lack of kind of forward cohesion. Was that down to selection? I mean, it was. I mean, I know I joked about us shutting up shop, but I don't know. Was this just a very canny bit of Thomas Franking? Kind of just look. We've got the goal. We don't have to do anything heroic, and let's just hang on to it. It's 3 points in the bag.
That's my attitude. I think we were very lucky to have got that goal. I think I've said before, and Leah's just echoed that. The defence is what's been worked on, so I felt confident about that. It was really, really boring. There is a huge void up front where somebody should be but isn't. That said, Thomas Frank, it's his first go in Europe, isn't it? I mean, so he's inexperienced. Villarreal are actually a really good side. They've got form in the past. Quite relieved to have got through it. I've got a feeling that should they meet again, Spurs will be a lot better. Just let's push on. It seems like, it happened about 6 months ago now because,
It does.
so many other things have been happening.
It does. Well, just let's sort of conclude. I mean, I do think we need to investigate this problem up front, but also, and we'll do that perhaps in relation to the Brighton match. But I felt we kind of reverted to the dawdling, Kev. When Romero looks at the ball at his feet and he shoves it forward an inch and then sideways an inch and then backwards an inch. Then he plays it up sideways to Van der Ven, and it's back and the goalkeeper. And it was just so tedious, almost as though, we were kind of lauding his amazing pass to Bergvall against West Ham. And then suddenly everything went to stodge. And in fact, in the second half, he gave the ball away twice in quick succession. And it was just an absolute mess, wasn't it? Is that a mentality thing, do you think?
Yeah, I think there's still, because I think it would be impossible for Frank to get rid of it, this quickly. There is still that dawdling thing that sort of runs through the team. And I think there's been less of it this year. I think there will be less and less of it as we go on. There was aspects of it in the Brighton game, I think, but I wasn't depressed about that not very convincing win in the way that I might have been last year, if that makes sense, because I think it still feels like there was potential. It still feels like things are on the up, and it was a bit miserable and a bit, not a great match, but okay, we've done it, and which is not how I felt last year during disappointing performances.
Yeah.
So I think things are better. They might just be better in my own mind, but I think it was okay.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't feel, I don't know whether you'd agree with this, Lee, but I didn't feel like we were at any point overrun by Villarreal. They had a few moments. They didn't particularly threaten. A couple of, Pepe had a shot, and there was another shot that went wide, and that free kick towards the end was really it. But it just seemed to me we were kind of almost supine, just like, come at us, go on, if you want, come at us, because the lack of energy and the lack of dynamism going forward was almost, soporific, wasn't it?
Yes and no. I think I might have to take a little bit of disagreement to what you're saying there. I say that because Villarreal are a really good side, and I think we shouldn't underestimate the fact that they got to the semi-finals of this competition a little while ago. Shows you what a good side they are. And yes, I think largely we did well against them, but we nearly got 2 players sent off. That could have changed things quite drastically, and they were very unlucky not to score a goal. That said, I think we showed a lot of mental fortitude, and I would, hazard a guess that if this was last year, we would have lost that game.
I mean, can I just say, don't disagree with the host. Don't come on here disagreeing with the host. All right,
Fair.
that's just not acceptable. So let's move on to the Brighton match, Julie. It was one of those horrible starts where we looked really good and then we let in 2 goals. And I thought we were playing some great stuff. Then we kind of huffed and puffed, if I can, coin a cliche. And we looked all right. We were playing the ball around. We were the dominant team, I think, for most of that. And finally, we found our way back. What changed things for us? Was it, and we got a bit of luck at the end, obviously. Richie got the goal just probably at the right time. But what changed? Did anything change?
I don't think anything changed, blatantly, obviously. I mean, I'm just so excited that we actually came back from 2 goals down, because, this time last year, we just would have sort of fallen apart, limply kind of cruised to another defeat. So I thought it was smashing. 2 goals down. Brighton, our bogey side, and what I have to do in these circumstances, if I'm not actually at a game, I have to go to Waitrose. It's that always signals a turn in our fortunes. And I was extra careful this time. I went to Waitrose before kickoff, in fact. So I was sort of around the Viennese whirls as Brighton took the lead and everything. And I was sort of going up and down the aisles quite a long time. I just thought it was fantastic the way we came back, having watched it on Match of the Day, which I don't know if anybody else is like me, but I can only watch Spurs on Match of the Day if we've won or got a decent draw. Never, ever watch them in defeat. So, the first half I was thinking, oh God, no Match of the Day for me tonight. But, then it all came right. I thought it was super, the mentality, as they say. We haven't had that for quite a long time. It was just, I think Richarlison could have actually had about 3 goals.
Yeah.
But he just sort of, he's not quite smart enough to do that sort of work all the time. I mean, he great for the showpiece goals, wonderful. That sort of, if I just sort of say Gary Lineker, Harry Kane, the kind of scorer who just, picks something up and does it before you notice. He's not that kind of player. I think it's going to be a difficulty till Dominic Solanke gets back. I don't know how. Can't they just stick some cortisol or whatever it is in his ankle or something like that? I don't care if he's sort of crippled later in life. You just need him back to sort of lead the front line, basically.
I love that selflessness of yours. That works. That works
Everybody
really well.
was moaning. Everybody, of course, was moaning about Vicario, Mr. Flappy. I don't know. Do we think Kinski ought to get a tryout?
Well, let's first of all, can I just say that Kevin and I, we're quite obviously familiar, being from Crouch End, with Waitrose. Lee, you're from Essex, probably not.
No, it's more Aldi here, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you wouldn't have heard of Waitrose. It's a very posh
I'm
shop.
just wondering what you've been going on about. I've no idea. Yeah, I just go for the Aldi.
I get it. It's fine. Look, I'm from Essex originally, and apparently that's how things still are. Let's talk about Richarlison first, and then we'll come on to Vicario. Kev, I'm Richarlison's biggest critic because I don't think he's equipped to be a centre forward for us. I don't think he's a centre forward. I'm not quite sure what he is. He's not a clinical finisher. He scored 2 brilliant goals for us in the first game. Someone noted on Twitter that he still managed to hit the goalkeeper from a yard against Brighton. He doesn't have that. It's not clinical. It's not an instinctive thing for him. I'm sure I kind of feel like the same is true of Solanke, except that he's got a greater range of skills and he's a better finisher generally. What are your thoughts on the striker issue?
If only we had Harry or Gary. I think if I had to choose between the two, I would go for Solanke. Definitely, I think he does have more to his game. I think he links the team together much better. It's so frustrating with Richarlison because those 2 goals that you mentioned were just the goals that very few strikers could have scored. They were brilliant, and yet that was probably the only match this year that he's played in where he's been impressive. He puts himself about, he tries, he doesn't look like he certainly doesn't look like an international player most of the time.
No.
Certainly not like a Brazilian player.
We've had a few Brazilian players who don't look like Brazilian players, haven't we? So I'm thinking of Sandro and I'm thinking of Emerson Royal, and they just look like plodders from the Championship. Lee, Richie for me is an issue. Vicario, a lot of criticism online about Vicario at the moment, likened his attempt to save that shot for the second goal like a man who's been stuck in concrete and it's set. Because the shot came in, it did swerve a bit, it moved a bit, but from that distance and that angle, top-class goalkeeper shouldn't let it in, and he's made some great saves this season. But there's something about him for me, and I know Kev and I we were talking about this, that when the ball's at his feet, he just looks like Bambi. He doesn't know what to do. You wonder whether his overall range of abilities, he flaps at things sometimes, and is he just a great shot stopper? And should we be looking at Kinski?
I've had a bit of sort of critical thinking on the issue, and I've come to the conclusion that he's shit. Yeah, I just don't trust him at the moment. I just feel that he is one of our major issues. He does a good bit of pointing. He's good at pointing, and he's good at kind of, it looks like he's kind of rallying the team, but he puts us in the crap too much with his kicking. Warwick Davis could have saved that second. He just really, he just wasn't getting anywhere near it. He just did this strange kind of like flappy thing with it. and it beat him. I mean, to be fair, it wasn't just his fault. Richarlison, who spent half an hour having a nap just beforehand, rolling around on the ground, he was one of them that caused the issue as well. But I don't know. I just think he needs a swift kick in the nuts, personally.
I mean, for me, it was a point. It was a point gained because we, as I think Julie said, in last season we'd have lost that 3-0 or 4-0. In fact, weren't we 2-0 up and lost 3-2? Wasn't that was that last season? Yeah,
that was.
It was a quite a good comeback. The frustration for me, Julie, was that it's a game that we were well capable of winning. I think it was a below par Brighton. I thought we were good. For me, the big change was Simmons coming on as a 10, kind of a left-leaning 10, if you like. But that was a really interesting kind of just a little indication of what this kid can do.
There are people saying, and I'm just putting it out there, that he's going to be our new Modric. I don't know. I mean, he's not wizened enough yet to sort of qualify as a Modric, but who knows? He's a super player. He looks, I'd say, one of the few really class players in the squad at the moment. We've only had him a few weeks. He might turn out to be rubbish. I don't think so. He's got that touch. He's got that. He's got good decision making. I hate using phrases like that. He knows where to go. He knows where to pass. He knows where to be. Looks like a super player. And once he gets a few sort of wrinkles and loses about 10 more stone, maybe he is going to be our Modric. Who knows?
Well, as we established on the show about 3 episodes ago, Kev and I didn't rate Modric at all. The kid was
How dare you?
No, but he was better for Real Madrid, let's be honest. The Simmons, for me, has got that thing where he doesn't have to do a trick to get away from his man. It's his awareness is so acute that suddenly he's away from the man. And he's already looking in the way that Hoddle knew he was going to control a football so he could start looking around him to where, who's he going to play it to? This kid has that similar kind of sixth sense. So he knows who's around him. He's got the technique and the ability to, he knows he's got the ball under control. And he's away. It's an interesting skill of his, isn't it? And it's not really based on speed or power necessarily.
No, it's a whatever that is, a sort of football intelligence, isn't it? Which a lot of players don't have. A lot of players, even decent players, don't have that extra creativity, that extra thing in their brain that helps them. I mean, some of it's about confidence, I think, and and sometimes he did things against Brighton that didn't quite come off. But rather that, we need someone like that who's going to try those things that don't come off sometimes, because when they do, it can change a game. And I think he did change that game, and it wasn't, I hope, that wasn't by any means his best performance. He's still finding his way, but he has that extra creativity, that extra intelligence. He's potentially going to be a big star, I think, for us.
It's that thing I think we talked about, down the years about Harry Kane, that it wasn't that fast, but it was in his head, and his ability to take a picture of what's going on around and to do the thing that is the most effective thing at any given moment. It seems to me that Simmons has that similar kind of sixth sense. Let's have a little chat about Kudus. For me, I mean, I love him. He's so strong. He's so skillful and tidy. At the moment, though, I know he was involved in both the goals, but is he doing enough for you? He's not scored yet. Is all of that ability, is it culminating in enough, is he giving us the stats that we should be seeing, or is he just incredibly entertaining player to watch? Or a bit of both?
I really like him. I think he's added a lot to us as a team. He's fast, he's skillful, and he can get a goal, but I do think his end product needs a little bit working on. Sometimes he seems to do a little bit of that Richarlison thing. He gets the ball and then he runs into space, and then either there's nobody there or he hits the first man, or he doesn't quite make enough of it yet. But I think there's enough there. I mean, we've got to remember he's still a young man, I think, isn't he, or something? Oh, is he 20? Okay. He's an old bastard then. So, but I think he has still a lot of potential, and that's something I'd feel confident that Frank could work on and get more out of him. And if I may sort of echo a couple of things the others have said as well. Like I really do think that Kevin was spot on with the fact that when Simmons came on, he did change that game. But saying that, I thought largely we were in most phases of the game in control. Their goals, I think, did come against the run of play and also came against Warwick Davis in goal. But, I think that was fairly unlucky. I really didn't see them at the beginning there getting those goals. And as Julie was saying, for us to show that strength to get back into it was really pleasing because, we did mess it up last year. We were 2-0 up and then threw it away. This time we nearly did the opposite.
Yeah.
And actually, I fancied us to do it. Yes, the game towards the end went, sort of toed and fro because I think they felt that they could also snatch something. But I do feel that largely we controlled that game overall. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does, and I think it augurs well, doesn't it? I mean, the fact that I don't really think, Julie, we haven't quite really hit top form in any match. I thought we were very good against Man City, but it was a kind of a brilliant organisational performance or organised performance. And so in that sense, you feel like, here we are. We've won, 4 games. We've drawn 1 and we've lost.
Don't forget the Desmond with PSG.
We beat PSG, as far as I'm concerned. That was a comfortable win. So, the theory is, isn't it, that, well, we're not playing brilliantly. We're playing well. We could, once we kind of gel, it's going to turn into something quite exciting.
I'm hoping so. What I'm wondering is, when's Andy Gray going to... Andy Gray, what am I talking about? When's Archie Gray going to get a look in?
You're 40 years too late with that one.
Yeah, Archie Gray was everywhere last season. Poor little bloke who had to sort of, he stood in for all the cripples. And he hasn't had much of a turn this season.
No.
There's... I still get the feeling that Thomas Frank is still kind of sorting out his jigsaw pieces a bit, actually, because we made one of the big buys, Kudus, early on in the transfer window. Paulinho was a little bit delayed, but Simmons and then Colo, I think we call him now, was just the last dash of the supermarket sweep. I don't get a sense that the team as a whole is a complete team yet. The defence is pretty nice, and we got Udogie back. I had to look up how to pronounce Udogie last night because I started calling him Udogie, thinking it was the right thing to say, but it is Udogie. Just putting that out there. So I mean, Udogie is a fantastic player. Yeah, I just get God, I'm getting incoherent. I just get the feeling that the team hasn't completely gelled yet, that Thomas Frank has got sort of quite a few pieces that he hasn't quite sort of worked out where they belong best. I had this terrible feeling that maybe, we peaked at Brighton and it's all downhill from there. Great performance against PSG pre-season.
That's proper Spursy.
We Burnley, no trouble. West Ham, no trouble. Bournemouth, nah. And of course, who knows what's going to happen at the weekend.
You raised an interesting one there. I was just about to ask Kev about and I'm going to just call him Destiny because then we don't get into any kind of trouble at all. He came in. I mean, I love Spence. Spence has just been a phenomenon for me, but I think Destiny is the better option out there because of his left-footedness. In terms of athleticism, there's not much to choose between them. I would say Spence is quicker. But does that beg the question, should Spence come in for the occasionally fallible Porro?
Yeah, I think, I don't know about Porro. I've never known about Porro. I think he just, for a few matches there, I was berating myself for not being convinced by Porro, and now I realise that, as ever, I was right. And
always,
he's not quite. Would he be in your ideal Tottenham team? No, not by a long way. I love the idea of Spence on one side and I think it's Udogie, Julie. I don't know.
Prophecy.
Well, no, I think it's Udogie. I'm pretty sure. I googled it. Yeah, got a YouTube version. They said Udogie, but feel free.
I can't have this. I can't have this Discord on the pod, so we're gonna call it Destiny from here on in. But one last thing I just wanted to raise about that match, possibly a little reflection on Villarreal again. Villarreal, as we now call him, because that's how you pronounce his name, of course. He is. He had a bit of a funny game against Brighton, didn't he? He was kind of a bit ragged in the first half, and then in the second half, he changed. There were a couple of tackles he made, one after t'other. You just thought, wow. I mean, he is so committed. For me, he should start, and then it's a question of whether it's Palhinha or Bentancur. What's your ideal take for the midfield? You know, that central midfield formation.
It's a little bit of a conundrum, isn't it? Because I think we've got some nice choices now, actually. But I definitely would pick Villarreal. I think he is a class player. Let's not forget he's 19, and clearly, obviously, his best years are ahead of him. But he's huge. When you see him in real life, he's huge and exceptionally skillful. Now he's had a couple of poor games, actually, the last couple. The Villarreal game, I didn't think he did well at all, and this game he was a bit on and off, but. You can see that this guy is going to be exceptional, and I think Barcelona are regretting not being able to tie him down. I agree. I think I would have him in there, and quite often with Sarr as well, and probably Paulinho most of the time too. But yeah, you just have to play. He's just got so much about him. He's strong. He goes round people a bit like Dembele used to. He's incredibly skillful. Eye for a goal. Exciting player. I think. We really got a good one there. I think.
Good, he's a real star, that kid. Let's move on then. Now, Julie, you sent me a message over the weekend moaning about the St. Thomas Frank in one specific area. Let's air it, because we need to address this.
Yes, I will. Now, I know you. I know that you think Thomas Frank is a saint, and I also love him. As far as I'm concerned, he could eat live bats by the light of the moon, and I'd still love him. But the chewing gum, chomp, 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 abandoned mastication during a game. And you can't focus on the game because there's this chomp, chomp, chomp going on in the dugout. I know that managers, there's terrible tension during a game. Obviously, that's his way of dealing with it, and it's far less annoying than Arteta sort of getting up and walking around along the touchline and invading the pitch. Or, in fact, maybe we can come back to Arteta at some point and his little pitch invasions and things. Well. It's just a sort of a suitable punishment for him. Every time he gets up and goes walkabout, he should be made to take off another article of clothing, like strip poker. So, that'll stop it, won't it?
Dear Lord.
I can see some sense in this on a very cold day. You're worrying me a little bit, Julie, to be honest. I'm not sure what your motive is there, and we'll have to think about that.
Let's go back to the chewing gum.
Can I just respond to Julie?
Yeah, of course you can, yeah.
I just want to say, maybe this is a kind of foible of top managers, because, like if you look at Pep, he just rolls that spit around on his tongue.
Spitzer.
And then you have Alex Ferguson used to chew a lot of gum. He used to masticate in public quite a bit, didn't he?
There is a story about that. His last game with United, a 5-5 draw with West Brom. Somebody actually picked up his discarded bit of chewing gum and sold it on eBay for £390,000. So, when Thomas Frank's time comes to leave, maybe I'll hang about around the dugout, pick it up, make a fortune.
Well, I tell you what, I shook Sir Alex Ferguson's hand at a corporate gig once, and I'd be happily sell my hand for £319,000. Look,
well.
When
Tino kissed my cheek once, so
Wow. Well, we're going to be stripped of vital body parts, but who cares? It's now when Julie said about the live bat situation, you actually came up with quite a a compelling theory about managers who eat bats.
Yeah. It's a taxonomy that I've developed, Simon. I think we should all use that word at least once every podcast.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I was thinking, so in terms of eating live bats, which of our managers would have done that? And it seemed obvious to me, Conte would happily eat live bats just to annoy the bat. I think, what's his name? Yeah, Conte, Mourinho, clearly bat swallowers.
Yeah.
I think Ange. I think there was an edge of aggression to Ange that we didn't. Well, we did see. We did see it actually at press conferences in particular. I think Ange might well have been someone who would eat bats. Poch, no. Poch
Too refined, isn't he?
Poch would have taken them home, looked after them.
Yeah. What about the man in the raincoat? I think he'd have eaten babies, wouldn't he?
Yes, definitely.
I just want to pick you up a little bit on Ange. I agree with you. There was that underlying kind of anger with him. And I don't think he's a bat eater. I think he might bite the head off a bat. But I don't think he'd go the whole way. No, leave the wings. Just a thought. What else have we got? Listen, you wanted to talk, Kev. I just wanted to pick this up with you. You sent me a note about Gooners, Gooner fans, and how they irritate you. Just take me through that.
Well, they do. They irritate me. Only the younger ones, though.
Mm-hmm.
Younger Arsenal fans, who to me, I mean, really, even younger Tottenham fans aren't quite real fans yet. I think you have to have suffered for, say, minimum of 30 years of actually watching them to be a real fan. So younger Arsenal fans, I mean, they've become, I don't think it's just Arteta, although obviously he's contributed to it, but I think Arsenal have become one of the most hated clubs in the country because of their young fans. And there's something so, I don't know what it is, smug and irritating and not really being football fans.
Kind of arrivist. Is that the word? Arrivist?
Yes, they are arrivist. And you can just imagine they'll get fed up with it in a couple. Each of them will get fed up with it after a couple of years and sort of move on when they come second again this year. Another whole percentage of them will move on. Yeah, they annoy me.
You did make an exception, which was a bit troubling for me, for older Arsenal fans, like, sort of dyed in the wool, been going. They were at Highbury in 1953. That you're prepared to allow those.
Oh, yeah, I don't have a problem with them. I actually feel I have more in common with an old Arsenal fan, an Arsenal fan of my age, than I do with younger Tottenham or Arsenal fans. I'm all right. I can't bear that club. I can't bear Arteta. I can't bear anything about them. But they're fans of football fans.
Simon, what does arrivist mean? Is that code for tossers? I
don't
know.
From Essex. There's no reason why you should know that, and we'll let it slide. So, Kev, you're coming across as a bit youthist there, if I might say so. And I know that, Julie, you're not having any of this, are you? You're not prepared to give anything if you support the Gooners, young or old.
I make no exceptions at all. They are all wankers, whatever age they are. And I'm from Essex.
I love it. I love Julie saying wankers. It's so great. I mean, this is what this pod is all about. All right, let's move on. Let's move on a little bit. I wanted to also, that's not one of Julie's points, but we've all got a take on this, I'm sure. You had an idea that Glory, Glory, Hallelujah is a bit shit. Actually, you say it's a bit shit. It's funnier when you say shit.
Just think, some clubs have the most beautiful anthems. I present as Evidence Hibs and the Proclaimers' Sunshine on Leith, which is just beautiful, haunting. Every time I hear the fans sing it, I have tears in my eyes. I think, why do we have to have, Hallelujah or whatever it is? It's just so inappropriate, especially when we've, just lost 4-1 or something, and you exit the ground to this sound. And I've been to a few Spurs funerals, and the coffin goes into the furnace to the sound of Glory, Glory, Hallelujah. I'm not having it. No. I think I'm sure Chas and Dave have come up with something a bit more lyrical and haunting than
Ain't no pleasing you.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Glory Glory is a bit jolly and a bit
Perfect.
triumphalist, isn't it? It's a bit kind of, aren't we great? And we're never great. So it's a bit pointless.
It's sort of, all right, Governor, pearly queens, pearly kings,
Yeah.
let's have a nut.
Yeah.
It's
So,
it's
Lee,
undignified.
where would you go with this, Lee? What would be your ideal, music to come out to?
To Bat Out of Hell or something like that, maybe.
We're back to bats.
Friggin' in the Rigging, something, that kind of thing.
I mean, Kev, you are the music aficionado amongst us, so presumably you have something esoteric and weird to offer, to throw into the mix here.
Well, my brain just came up with, I have no idea why, Clown Time is Over by Elvis Costello, which is not remotely rousing or anthemic or even that good. But it just came to mind. So I'm gonna share that, and I'm gonna propose that Clown Time is Over by Elvis Costello become the new Spurs.
Interesting shout. I've no idea how that sounds or how it goes. I'm going to go and check it out on Spotify. I would go for Boogie Nights by Heatwave, or anything by Earth, Wind and Fire. But that's just me. Now, let's move on a little bit. Have we got any other pressing Spurs or non-Spurs matters? Lee, you must have a rant. What, look, first of all, have you made any more films since you were last on 3 weeks ago?
Well, I did a short film recently, and I don't know what the hell it's going to be like. It was really some sort of bizarre thing filmed in a basement, and so yeah, I'm waiting to see what it turns out like.
Is this the one you posted a picture of you looking gory with half your face peeling off? I mean, that's not right.
No,
you're a beautiful man. That shouldn't happen to you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, some people said it's an improvement. This is that one is the one I mentioned last time, the Borley Rectory one, which is due out in a few weeks, and I think they're going to make a follow up to that as well, which I'm hoping to be involved with. But at the moment, if there's anyone out there listening that wants to hire an actor, I am available. So yeah, it's ever the case with the actors. We're often resting.
Okay, look, I mean, I've got to just say to you, I've no idea what you just said because I've got you on triple echo at the moment. And that's just the way I'm hearing things. Julie, in mono, anything troubling you at the moment, Spurs wise, or just a general rant about? We've done the chewing gum, we've covered that.
We've done the chewing gum. I'm
this
completely zen about everything. I've done some homework on Doncaster when we come to talk about Doncaster.
That's a shame because I was going to throw that hospital pass to Kev.
Well, over to you, Kev, honestly.
I know as much about whatever league Doncaster in as I do about European football, really. So I think, I think we're going to, what I'm dreading is I can't go. And this means that the season ticket buddy who stands next to me will passive aggressively say, you couldn't make it then. And I'll go, no. And then I'll come up with some absurd excuse involving a family bereavement or something.
Yeah.
Because he will shame me, which he does. If I don't attend, he shames me.
I'm with him.
I'm not attending.
All right. Well, okay. That's a pretty poor show, if you don't mind me saying. I will be there, and I'm fascinated to watch Doncaster of the Division 1.
Division 1.
Yeah, because I just looked that up. I just Googled that, so now we all know.
League 1, which was Division 3.
League 1. Well, all right, don't.
You forget, I'm Bird.
You're splitting hairs with me over something none of us know anything about. That's not fair. Come on. Look, I've got a little rant, which I'm going to just get out the way. We'll probably edit this out. But I was at London Bridge this morning, and Julie, you are our fashion, a fashionista, aren't you? As we established last week. I was walking through the station, and this guy was walking towards me, about 30, 35, even in that sort of the catacombsy bit of London Bridge. It's very dark. It's very gloomy in there. And he was wearing sunglasses, slick back hair, a la Lee. He was wearing a tailored suit, a white shirt open at the collar, crisp white shirt, and his trousers tapered down to the ankles and stopped short. And he's wearing loafers, no socks. I mean, what the fuck? Talk me through this. Is this some? I mean, I thought that had gone out 15 years ago. And I really wanted to just tackle him, take him down to the floor and have a word. You know what I mean?
I'm actually speechless. I don't think I can possibly comment about this because I live in Blackheath, where nobody wears sockless loafers. You know, all the men sort of, you know, go around they have sort of fair old woolies and tweed jackets, sometimes with leather patches on the elbows. It's the only man who shows their legs is the postman. And I don't know if your postman is the same as ours.
All weathers.
Yeah, all weathers, shorts. Yeah, they're hard. It's really hard. So, but do you want me? I think you were telling me this story just because you want me to say wanker again, aren't you?
Sir, job done as far as I'm concerned. Excellent. There was something else that happened to me at London Bridge. Sorry to gripe on about London Bridge, but I went to get myself a cup of tea before to take onto the train. And I said, can I have a large tea, please? I won't name names, but it was a place called Leon. I said, can I have a large tea? So the server put half a mug full of hot water in with the tea bag. And I said, that is a small tea in a large cup. And she looked at me like I was mad. And I had to just take it, you know? So what's going on in the world, Kev? Come on, you're with me, aren't you, on this?
I am with you. I don't understand anything in the world, really. And I think the one consistency is, well, it's probably disappointment that Spurs inevitably bring us every now and again. I find that reassuring.
Yeah, well, that's it. There's the one constant in our lives. Well, look, let's stop all this frippery and nonsense and move on to predictions. We talked about Donny coming down to the lane on Wednesday. Lee, how much are we going to beat them by? And are we going to see Williams Barnett get a little run out? Because he looks really special.
So I'm going to set the case out for why we might lose.
Of course.
No, I do think we actually win. But historically speaking, Thomas Frank doesn't have a good record in this competition. I suspect we may well see as many as 9 changes, and that is often a recipe for, a very, very disjointed game.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe quite a low-scoring game, and maybe a bit more difficult than we think, because we're just trying to sort of rest everyone, I suppose, for the following game. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, we could very well, as you say, absolutely tan their hides. But I suspect this is going to be a little bit trickier than you might think, because they're going to come to our stadium wanting to put a marker down, wanting to impress people. It's probably the game of their lives. And we're going to roll out probably 9 changes, but it's going to see a lot of players maybe even played slightly out of position. So yeah, I think we will win, but I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I'm getting the sort of a Morecambe vibe. Remember we played Morecambe and we ended up with Harry Winks managed to swing a cross into the goal, and we've come just about scraped our way back into that. Julie, you're the expert on Doncaster Rovers, not Kev. Obviously, Kev's embarrassed himself on this subject. What's the score going to be?
Okay, well, they sound a bit like Melchester Rovers, actually, this team. And they have their centre forward is called Billy Sharp, and he's 39, and he's a club legend.
Yeah.
Leader, still good for the important goal. So watch it. He may be their Vardy. And their defensive midfield anchor, Owen Bailey, gritty. And there's the centre back, Matty Pearson. I mean, they're great names, aren't they?
Good names.
There's no Udogie nonsense or Berrival nonsense about Doncaster Rovers. So Matty Pearson, most expensive player, 700,000 quid. Good in the air.
I love the fact that you know all this. It's just in you, isn't it? You're not looking at anything. You're not reading it off Google. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
I'm reading it off paper because I'm old school. I need a notebook and a pen. Otherwise, the brain doesn't work.
Well, look,
but anyway,
it's important research.
Yeah, I think Billy Sharp for the win.
Well, look, Billy Sharp is not much younger than us, lot. Kev, as you don't know anything about Doncaster Rovers, you used to be ashamed, but so a wild shot in the dark for a prediction?
Well, my I had a friend of mine who died many years ago, and he was from Doncaster, and he supported Doncaster, and we used to mercilessly take the piss out of him because, they were a small team and we were stupid.
And also, they came from Doncaster, which is in itself risible.
Yes.
It's got a lovely race course. What are you talking about? Lovely place, Doncaster.
Donny.
Sorry, Doncaster. Well, I'm going to get something from Doncaster Spurs in a minute, aren't I? What's the matter with you, you daft bastard? I don't know if that's how they talk in Doncaster, by the way. So what's the score going to be?
So for my mate Steve, I want them to score the first goal, and in the second minute, some fluky goal, go one up, to give them the pleasure of that, and then we'll get 4. We won't be very impressive, but we'll get 4.
Okay, so we're looking at 4-1. I would concur with that. Now, after that, at the weekend, we are playing Wolves. Now, Wolves have lost every game so far. They can't score. They just ship goals. They're shit. I want Julie to say they're shit, obviously, at some point. And we're playing them at home. And we're the team that went to Man City and won. Okay. So, Lee, what are we going to lose by?
Well, we're going to concede a couple of howlers. Sorry, I just had to do that. That's terrible, isn't it? But yeah, I think we'll give them a bit of a doing. Actually, I feel positive about this one. I think there's much about this team at the moment, the way Frank's managing them, that remind me of Pochettino Spurs. In that, I can see what we're doing, and I just hope the team can. But I think we'll have too much for them, and I don't know, 2-0, I think.
Okay, Julie?
I've done this before. I always overcommit, we're going to do them 4-1. I think actually it's either going to be a Dr. Tottenham where Wolves actually, win 1-0, or we'll do them, be 2-0. I don't know. Maybe it's just going to be 1-1. Draw. I'm sure that they'll play a lot better against us than they've been playing so far this season, because that's just the way it is with Spurs. I'm completely resigned. I'm hoping it's not going to be 1-0 to the Wolves, but you never know.
You never know.
Julie, your indecision is final there.
Kevin, are you going to deign to turn up?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that because, of course, I was just thinking I've missed Villarreal and I'm going to miss Doncaster. So when I walk to my seat on Saturday, my season ticket buddy's going to say, "Oh, you're here then," and yeah. So
You
and
want
I'm
to
going
say
to
to
feel
him, "I'm not." It's funny you should say that. I'm not here.
actually, yeah,
Just see if he can handle it.
yes. So I'm going. Yeah, we're going to win. We are going to win. We're going to win 3-1.
All right. Well, that's a good shout, actually. I don't think we're going to concede. But, of course we're going to concede. 3-1. I'll go 3-1. A fancier's Simmons and Kudus masterclass. There we go. Just throw that out there. Why not? Well, look, I think we're done for today. I think we've covered an awful lot of pointless ground, haven't we? So it's been a cracking podcast. So just remains for me to say thank you to Hollywood's own Lee Brown, of course, doyen of everything Spurs, Julie Welch, and the whispering Kevin Acott. And that's it from us. We'll be back next week. Have a great week. Come on, you Spurs.
Nice one, Cyril.